John Harris, 65 years old, was a former American soldier who had dedicated his life to serving his country. He had faced countless dangers on the front lines of Afghanistan and Iraq. However, one day during a mission, he stepped on a landmine that forever altered his life. Losing both his legs, John returned to his country, not only physically, but emotionally scarred. When he arrived home, there were no family members or friends to greet him. His wife, believing John could no longer provide for the family, had kicked him out of their home. His children, too, had grown distant and barely acknowledged his existence. Confined to a wheelchair, John found himself living on the streets. Without a roof over his head, he clung to his deep love and loyalty to his country. He began selling American flags to survive, enduring not just hunger and the cold, but also the judgmental stares and mocking words of strangers. One morning, John was at a street corner, trying to sell his American flags from his wheelchair. A group of young men approached him, laughing and mocking loudly. One of them shouted, "Hey, look at this fake hero! Do you really expect us to believe you're disabled? Get up and walk, liar!" John tried to stay calm, replying softly, "Young men, I'm just trying to sell my flags. Please go on your way." But the taunting didn't stop. Another youth stepped closer and shoved his wheelchair, causing John to fall to the ground. His flags scattered everywhere. Struggling to hold back tears, John whispered, "Please, that's enough. I'm not lying to anyone." The crowd that had gathered watched silently, with no one stepping in to help. One of the young men sneered, "See? You can't get up because you're a fraud." Tears streamed down John's face, but he maintained his composure. Picking up a flag from the ground with trembling hands, he said, "I fought for this flag. I won't let it stay on the ground. This flag is my pride." The young men eventually walked away, laughing, while John quietly collected the rest of his scattered flags. He was utterly alone, his pride shattered once again. Yet, deep inside, his love for his country remained steadfast, and a flicker of hope still lingered. At that very moment, a sleek black limousine on its way to the White House slowed down as the driver noticed the commotion on the sidewalk. Inside the car, Donald Trump peered out of the window, his sharp eyes catching sight of an elderly man sitting on the ground surrounded by scattered American flags. Instantly, Trump gestured to his driver to stop. Without hesitation, he stepped out of the vehicle, moving through the gathering crowd toward the fallen man. As he reached John, Trump crouched down, his gaze fixed on the man's tear-streaked face and trembling hands clutching a flag. His voice softened, full of genuine concern as he asked, "Sir, what happened here? Why are you sitting on the ground?" John slowly raised his head, his tear-filled eyes meeting Trump's. For a moment he couldn't speak, overwhelmed by the sudden presence of the president. Trump placed a reassuring hand on John's arm and said, "Take your time. I'm here to help, but I need to understand what happened." Taking a deep, shaky breath, John began to speak, his voice cracking with emotion. "Mr. President, I once served this country. Afghanistan, Iraq, I gave everything I had, but one day it all changed. I lost everything." Trump leaned closer, his expression attentive and empathetic. John continued, his words heavy with pain. "I stepped on a landmine. It all happened so fast. When I woke up in the hospital, my legs were gone. The first thought that came to my mind was that I was no longer useful. I couldn't serve my country anymore. I felt worthless." John paused, his hands trembling as he pointed to the flags scattered around him. "I tried to rebuild my life, but nothing worked. My wife, she left me because I couldn't provide for our family anymore. Even my kids, they don't talk to me now. To them, I'm not a father. I'm just a burden." Trump's eyes grew heavy with sadness as he listened. John went on, his voice breaking further. "I applied for jobs, over and over again, but no one wanted to hire a man like me. What can a disabled man do, right? So now I sell these flags. It's all I have left. And even that?" John's voice trailed off as his gaze dropped to the ground. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand before continuing. "Today, a group of kids came by. They pushed me out of my wheelchair. They called me a liar, a fraud. They threw me to the ground and scattered my flags. I just sat there, powerless. What else could I do?" Trump inhaled deeply, his expression a mix of sorrow and determination. John looked at him, his voice almost a whisper now. "I gave everything for this country, Mr. President, but now people look at me like I'm nothing. I used to be a hero. Now I'm invisible." For a moment, there was silence. Then Trump placed a firm hand on John's shoulder and said with conviction, "John, What you've endured is unacceptable. You gave everything for this country, and now this country owes you. You will not be invisible any longer." John stared at Trump, his eyes wide with disbelief. Trump gently helped him back into his wheelchair, adjusting it carefully. Turning to his advisor, Trump spoke firmly, "Everyone will hear this man's story. Make sure he gets every bit of help he needs, and ensure he has the resources to live with dignity." Tears filled John's eyes once more, but this time they were not tears of pain or humiliation. They were tears of gratitude. He lowered his head and murmured, "Mr. President, I didn't think you were the right person to lead this country, but now I see I was wrong. You're so much more than I thought." Trump smiled warmly, shaking John's hand. "John, a man like you who has given so much for this nation deserves nothing less than respect and care. From now on, you won't be alone." The crowd, previously silent, watched the scene unfold with a mix of awe and emotion. Trump's actions and John's heartfelt words left an indelible mark on everyone present. For John, this marked the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with hope, dignity, and the recognition he had long deserved. Trump took John into his car and brought him to his home. He provided him with a warm meal, clean clothes, and arranged for a caregiver. For the first time in years, John had the chance to sleep in a proper bed. Overwhelmed by the kindness, tears streamed down his face. Trump, moved by John's situation, made calls the following day to charity organizations to arrange a permanent home and a stable job for him. He knew that a man who had sacrificed so much for his country deserved never to be alone again. Within a week, John had a new home. Thanks to the charity campaigns Trump initiated, John was given a second chance at life. Trump personally ensured he had a meaningful job, giving him the opportunity to rebuild his life with dignity and purpose. At a press conference, John recounted the life-changing actions Trump had taken for him. His voice broke with emotion as he said, "All my life, I gave everything to serve my country. But there were moments when I felt my country had turned its back on me. Donald Trump made me feel human again. He's not just a president, he's a true human being." Trump, sharing John's story with the public, said, "People like John are the true heroes of this nation. It's our duty to ensure they receive the honor and support they rightfully deserve." John's story became a powerful testament, not just to one man's resilience and recovery, but to the profound impact that compassion and humanity can have. It was a reminder that no act of kindness is ever too small, and that a little help can transform a life. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. By doing so, you can help inspire others and support us in sharing more stories like this one. Remember, even the smallest act of kindness can make the biggest difference.